hair was wild, her face red and hot with sweat, her fists clenched tightly, her feet stomped loudly, her eyes full of fury. She looked at me, pointed her finger, and said, "You're a bad, bad mom." She was 3 years old and absolutely certain of her anger. Defiant, convicted, clear. Her voice didn't shake, her body didn't shrink. She didn't even try to soften the blow. And here's the thing. I was secretly delighted. Yes, the word stung. No mother wants to hear this. But her fire, her aliveness, she was connected to it. She didn't fear her anger. She owned it. And I stood there wondering to myself, when did we stop allowing ourselves to be that clear? When did we start making anger a problem? Because somewhere along the way, women learn to dim that fire, to cry instead of rage, to stay calm when everything inside of us says, this isn't okay. We're taught to manage our anger, to soften it, to smile through it, to make it pretty, or bury it all together. But here's the truth. Anger, when held wisely, isn't destruction. It's direction. Let's talk science for a moment. A series of studies done by the American Psychological Association found that anger increases motivation and focus. In one study, participants were asked to do difficult puzzles. Those that felt anger outperformed those who felt neutral, even those who felt happy. Why? Because anger says, this matters, keep going. Now imagine that same energy in a negotiation, in a movement, in a boardroom. Anger is fuel, but only some people are allowed to use it. We are far more comfortable with certain kinds of anger. A coach yelling on the sidelines, passionate. A mother protecting her child, fierce. A man pounding the table in a boardroom, strong leadership. But a woman, standing up for herself. She's too emotional, unstable, difficult. A study done by Yale found that when men express anger at work, they gain in status. But when women do, they're seen as less competent and less worthy of leadership. Same emotion, different outcome. That's not just bias, that's programming. And it teaches women to disconnect from our own protection, to question ourselves when we could be holding others accountable, to feel guilt when there could be clarity. So what do we do instead? We ignore it, we bury it, we vent privately and implode silently. I did it too. One of my earliest memories, I was 6 years old. My brother, red-faced and furious, stomping up and down the stairs, yelling, "They cheated." He keeps slamming a door again and again. My parents judging him silently. I'm hiding and thinking to myself, I never want to be that out of control. I made a vow. I'd be the good one. I'd be the calm one. I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't take up space with my anger. That decision followed me into school, into work, into leadership, even into my relationships. I was a pro at holding it all together, a master poker face, managing my emotions, being reasonable, even when I was burning inside. And here's what I now know. It's not just emotional. It's physical. Studies show that women who suppress anger are more likely to suffer from anxiety, autoimmune diseases, and even die earlier. What we call selflessness, research calls self-silencing. In one study, women found that if they don't speak up in conflict, they're 4 times more likely to die prematurely, even when controlling for smoking and blood pressure. We're not just staying quiet, we're eroding. And burnout, it's not just about work. It's about all the time and energy spent being likable instead of being honest. That was me too. On paper, I had it all. A prestigious role, international assignments, a big life. But behind the scenes, I was managing resentment with wine, booking luxury vacations just to feel something, performing power, but feeling disconnected. And oddly enough, I found my way back. Through dodgeball. Yes, dodgeball. Me and other grown professionals in sweatbands hurtling rubber balls at each other for fun. We were not there for fitness. The tater tots and beers afterwards made sure of that. We were there to throw hard, to grunt, to shout, to hit, to miss. We were there to play all out. No emotional labor, no pretending. And what I realized was, this wasn't rage, it was release. This wasn't chaos, this was clarity. This was anger alive in my body, and it made me feel powerful. That same fire followed me into the boardroom when I needed it most. My boss at the time, loud, reactive, abrasive. Every month then, we'd have high-stake financial meetings. He'd ask me, how's performance? I'd say, we missed target. Before I could finish, he'd cut me off. Furious, finger-pointing, explosive. Every time I'd shrink, even though I was fuming inside. But I didn't yell. I didn't storm out. I decided to study my anger. I stopped treating it as a liability and started using it as data. And the closer I got to it, the more I realized underneath the fire was fear. Fear of looking incompetent, fear of losing control. And the more I understood my fear, the more I realized underneath his anger, he was afraid. Afraid of failing, afraid of looking weak in front of his bosses, afraid of the pressure to deliver goals that felt impossible. And the more I understood his fear, the less I feared mine. And just like in dodgeball, I stopped dodging and I started throwing back. Not recklessly, but with precision. I spoke clearly. I interrupted when it mattered, not to dominate, but to lead. I stopped trying to be likable, and I started being effective. To land the point, to shift the room. And it worked. He promoted me twice. Not because I appeased him. And it was not because I appeased him, but because I stopped abandoning myself. And anger, it didn't make me less credible. It made me unshakable. And this isn't just my story. It's backed by science. Researcher John Gottman studied couples over decades, and he found that women who express anger in their relationships, their male partners were unhappy at first. But over time, their relationships grew stronger because men learned to accept their influence. And the women that stayed quiet, their marriages looked peaceful until they collapsed. Why? Because emotions like anger are GPS signals. They tell us what we care about, what we value, what needs to change. Ignore them and lose your way completely. So what do we do with this fire? We train with it. Feel, fuel, fire. Feel. Notice the heat in your body, the tightening, the rush. Don't flinch, don't apologize. Say it, I'm angry and that matters. Fuel. Let it power your presence. Drop your shoulders, stand taller, breathe deeper. Let it sharpen your voice, not to hurt, but to hit. Fire. Take that shot. Interrupt, speak that line, redirect that conversation. You don't have to explode. You just have to be clear. And anger, it's never been the problem. It's the silence that follows it or the explosion that happens when it's been held for far too long. Unfelt anger corrodes. Unintegrated, it burns everything around us. But if we know it, if we have a relationship with it, anger becomes what it was always meant to be. Direction, clarity, power. Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. I say, if there is no anger, there is no clarity. Not just for us, but the cultures, communities, and systems we shape. So train with it. Feel, fuel, fire. And when it rises, don't rush, don't run, don't apologize, don't explode. Use it. Let it land, let it lead, and watch what changes. Thank you.